Mel Wells, I consider one of my sisters. She is a dear friend of mine. She's also an incredibly powerful and magnetic female leader. She is an author, speaker, life coach, retreat host, and also a jungle queen. She is my jungle sister, currently living in Costa Rica with her man. She has been featured in countless media publications. She's been in Forbes magazine, Cosmopolitan, BBC Radio, The Telegraph, Women's Health, you name it. She was actually called by OK magazine. Her books were called Body Bibles for Women. And Forbes actually described her as giving a voice to the silent struggle that millions of women know so well. But all in all, when it comes down to it, Mel is a super down-to-earth, free-spirited, high-vibing, amazing goddess. And I am so excited for you to get to know her, to experience her, to learn from her today. She really has created a movement among women in really loving themselves, falling madly in love with who they are, connecting deeply to their bodies, their souls, and their inherent feminine wisdom. So I am really excited to dive deep in this episode with Mel. This is really going to be one of those girl chat type of episodes. We're going to go in and talk about some things that is not really for men's ears, okay? So this is woman to woman talk. We're going to go in, we're going to talk about love, sex, body wisdom, and just the magic that happens when you tap into your divine feminine and create that space for yourself. So if you are listening right now and you are an ambitious, driven woman who is building her business or is a career woman and you are always on the go, go, go in the do, this episode is for you, because Mel is going to be dropping some powerful wisdom that is really going to speak into the collective shift that we've seen among women today. So without further ado, I'm not going to spoil any more for you. Let's dive into the episode. Mel, I am so thrilled, so thrilled to have you on my show. Finally, I'm like, girl, this is overdue and perfect, because you are perfect. I feel like this was just so divinely orchestrated because you are so perfect for this Female on Fire series. So I'm so excited to have you on. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, babe, and absolutely love this Female on Fire series and what you are creating in the world. So thank you for choosing me to be a part of it.
Of course. And I am actually, what I do, this is the tradition for each episode, I'm going to take a moment to just shower you with a couple of acknowledgements, really why I chose you. And you kind of already know some of this because I've talked with you already, but why I chose you for this series and why I think you're such a great fit, Mel. Besides the fact that I just love and adore you as the amazing friend that you are to me, you really created such a wildly successful brand and business, doing what truly lights your soul on fire while traveling the world. Right now, you're living it up in the jungle in Costa Rica, just living that freedom lifestyle, doing what you love and being wildly successful at the same time. And you also have a king, an amazing king by your side, Rick, who I know and love, who's so supportive of you. I love you guys. I love your relationship, and that he's there with you by your side every step of the way. And last but certainly not least, because I saved this for the very last, because it's my favorite part and really the most compelling reason why I chose you to be in this series, is that you have really embodied and have shown what it means to be so deeply connected to the divine sexual and sensual parts of you as a woman, as the goddess that you are. And you've really inspired women everywhere into a whole new level of this, and myself included. So that's why I chose you, girl. I'm so happy to dive in with you.
I'm honored. Thank you so much. I receive. Thank you.
Yes. A goddess receives. Yes, she does. So what I'm really excited to dive in with you on, Mel, is that third and favorite part that I shared about you, and what I want to address and hear from you is, like, there is this very clear shift that's happened with women in response to, men, and response to society, in response to this whole shift in women being
way more in their masculine, right? And like really that boss babe, which is great, right? That boss babe, that go-getter, that ambitious, driven businesswoman. And so many women are stepping into that and rising into that, which is beautiful. And on the other side, there's been such a far pendulum swing that way that a lot of women have, I feel, and what I've seen, have lost touch with their feminine side and with that divine feminine and those sensual, sexual parts of them. So that's what I'm seeing. And I would love for you to speak into it, because I'm also curious if that's what inspired you into the work that you're doing now with women.
Yes, let's start there with like all the business stuff, because I remember growing my business, a few years ago, and I was really heavily into all of the very masculine way of doing things. And I know you're friends with Gary, and I just want to say I was obsessed with Gary Vee. I think I read his books. I read one of his books 3 times back to back. And I just always had him in my ears. No, not throwing shade to Gary Vee, but it is obviously a very masculine way of doing things. And it's a very kind of, it's not necessarily the healthiest way for me personally, right? So it's like this kind of, for anyone's not familiar, hustle, 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 get shit done. If you're resting, your competitor is beating you. Like, yeah. I'm working all over Christmas. You bet your ass I'm hustling. And I was so all about that life. I was like 3 coffees, hustle in my like podcast hustle, go, go, go. And sure enough, I burned myself out. And after every launch, I would literally be like peeling myself off the floor with a spatula, because I just was so exhausted. Oh, can I swear on this podcast?
Yes.
I was fucked, Ashley, because it was just not a sustainable way of doing things. And I remember thinking, well, I'm growing this brand, like I'm helping women to love themselves, to heal their relationships with food, to take great care of themselves. And I need to make sure that I'm able to practice what I preach whilst growing this business to the way that I want to grow it. And I remember joining a mastermind a few years ago and showing up to this really glamorous mastermind in, I think it was in Miami, and looking around me, and the whole language behind everything was numbers, sales, funnels, email sequences, conversion rates. And I remember feeling like, oh my God, I've paid all this money to be here. What is it? Why is this not landing for me? Why do I feel like, oh, this is just not exciting to me? Like, why is this not turning me on? Right. And even though there were women in the room, I was just seeing that everyone was there because they were excited about funnels and conversion rates. And I was like, I just remember like looking around like, I feel like something's missing here, right? And at the time, I thought what was missing was a spiritual component. I was like, well, it must be because I'm just like really connected to my spirituality. Maybe I need to work with spiritual entrepreneurs instead of, I guess just online digital entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that was what it was. And only when I came away from that and started to really feel this call from within, from my inner feminine, did I realize that's what it was missing, was this divine feminine energy from either the men or the women, to be honest, just showing up in heart and in devotion and in receptivity and in flow and in intuition, instead of here are the structures, here are the systems, here's the strategy, here is the formula. And so I kind of really had this big realization of like, okay, enough. And luckily for me, it was around the same time that I launched my membership, which was obviously helpful for me, because it meant that I had recurring revenue every month. And it was the first time that I'd had that much recurring revenue in my business. And so I remember thinking, this is a gift. This is a divine gift. I'm going to use this opportunity to stop pushing so much and to actually lean back and just allow myself to have space for once in my freaking life, and just allow myself to rest and have space for ideas and wisdom and divine, divine guidance to come through me. And it was such a revelation, because I remember deciding a big act of rebellion for me would be to read a book in the middle of the day, to close down my laptop, to put my phone away and just read my book at like 1 p.m. or at like 9 a.m. or something, when I was supposed to be on all these meetings and doing all this work. And that was huge for me. And I really learned the power of rest, of really focusing on soul growth and prioritizing soul growth over prioritizing business growth, which was huge. And so ever since then, I've come back into the masculine, but in a much healthier way, while still integrating this, what I've really learned from this feminine magnetism. And yeah, it's a beautiful culmination when we are really able to integrate the two and not need to choose one or the other.
Yeah. Oh, so well said. And being able to, we talked about this before we jumped on, is gracefully dance between the two and flex between the two in a healthy way that serves you, that feels good, that feels aligned. When you were sharing that, I can totally relate. I was the pusher. I would pull all-nighters frequently until, you know, I'd be working until 7 a.m, 3 a.m, and just nonstop hustle. And yes, Gary Vee, as I think I've spoken with you about this, is one of my mentors, and he's great for so many things. Of course, he's also a man. So there's that. And so,
well, you need him. You need him to represent the one side of the spectrum, right? Because
the making decisions part, because that's important, because then you can be so far on the other side where you're just waiting for someone to tell you and you're not really making the decisions that you get to make, right? So there's, like you said, a balance, a harmony that gets to happen. And I remember in one of my last relationships, I got the feedback of, whoa, like, you are in your masculine. Like, can you shift after the workday is done? And I was like, shift? Like, what? Like, shift into how? What do you want me to shift into? Like, I am a woman. What? You know, and I remember being so confused about that. And that was like, you know, several years ago. And I was like, this feels so foreign to me, because ever since even school, like college, I was the grinder. I was the hustler. I was having countless nights just literally pushing. And so, you know, I think that if there's any woman listening right now who feels the burnout, who feels that exhaustion, that is your body literally communicating to you, because it's going against the natural rhythm and flow of your body. And so it's like a beautiful opportunity. I love that you said you challenged yourself with reading a book in the middle of the day as like this interrupt, right? It's a beautiful like pattern interrupt and stretch. It has you flex into the other side of you, right? So that's so beautiful. Mel, what would you say is, like, for women listening who know that they are like, okay, I'm feeling confident in business, right? But when it comes to like the bedroom and, you know, you put me in a boardroom, I'm good, right? Put me in a bedroom, I'm like, you know, I tighten up. It doesn't feel good. What have you really done to embody that feminine confidence and sensuality in also like in the bedroom and like, you know, with your man and as a woman?
Well, there's a couple of things that are coming to mind. The first thing is a little affirmation that I have been using for years. When I was in a relationship about 5 or 6 years ago, and I was feeling constantly rejected in the bedroom, and it was really making me feel really low in self-worth and self-confidence. And this affirmation just popped into my head one day, and it was, I turn myself on. I am turned on by my own life. And so I have really, since that day, tried to live a life that turns me on, and really made myself the source of my own turn on, which means I'm not expecting someone else to turn me on. I turn myself on. So that in itself takes your sovereignty back, your sexual sovereignty back into your own hands. When you realize I'm a motherfucking badass. I'm an amazing person. I'm an amazing woman. I have an amazing life. Like, I turn myself on. So that is something that is really powerful. And I know a lot of women struggle with feeling good enough, feeling wanted in the bedroom. A lot of us, we've had this pressure to kind of perform and do it right and do it good. And we've kind of put our power outside of ourselves. So that would be the first thing, is take that power back and realize that your sexual power is your life force energy, and it's generated from within your own body. It's not coming from someone else. You're not going to get it from someone else. It's all generated from within. So if you can really, just as you're driving around, or as you're walking your dog or doing your workout, I turn myself on. This is hot. Like, this is a turn on. Look at my life. It's such a turn on, right? Like, get turned on by yourself and your own life. That is the first thing, which is I found to be extremely empowering and crosses over into the bedroom. The next thing I would say, especially for my business women, entrepreneurs that are on their laptops all day, decide a time when the laptop goes down and you're going to give yourself a goddess hour. Now, if an hour is not possible, half an hour will do. An hour is, dreamy if you can. And this is something that I was doing a lot in London, because London is very masculine, as you know. It's very like grind city life.
Yep.
And I found it really hard to ever switch off from that. So what I would do is I would close my laptop down at a certain time of day. What would happen then is all the candles would go on, music would go on, the bath would be running. I would be pouring myself a beautiful bath with salts and oils and anything that I wanted. I would read my book. I would have my bath, and then I would self-pleasure. And I gave myself like a whole hour of just no phones, no laptops, just like me, myself, and I, letting myself feel like a goddess, allowing myself to step into that goddess vibe, put on my robe. And then after that's done, I'm completely feeling so in my feminine, so relaxed, so open. And then, me and my partner can watch an episode of whatever we want to watch and cuddle up. And I don't feel like I'm still in that work mode, like 20 tabs still open in my mind, right? I feel like, no, that door has closed. Now I have entered this new door of feminine goddess. So that was a tool that I really rinsed, to be honest. Like, every night I looked forward to it so much, especially actually during lockdown this year. I did it a lot to help me really like create this sanctuary in my home and make this shift between work and now it's pleasure time, right? And on that note of pleasure, I know I mentioned self-pleasure, which a lot of people might be like, oh, that's a bit scary. I feel a bit alien doing that. So we've got to kind of realize that as women, the most powerful part of our body is between our legs, right? It is the source of all life. It's where all of life comes from, right? So if you are loving your body and taking care of your body, and you are ignoring or avoiding that part of your body, you're not going to ever feel completely connected to your power as a woman, right? So if you can lovingly honor that part of you through sensual self-pleasure. Now, I say sensual self-pleasure because we live in a very masculinized culture. Even pleasure for women has been masculinized. It's like, how fast can I get an orgasm? How quick can I get it done? It's like this electric, robotic toys that just like we get addicted to, and they desensitize us. And there's no slow, sensual, none of that. It's so we've got to really realize, okay, how would I want a partner to make love to me? Do I want just like a quick bang? Is that how I want to be loved? Is that how I want my body to be respected? So we can actually start getting into this conversation of like, how does my body really like to receive pleasure? And most women, I mean, it takes us, a good 30 minutes at least to get really warmed up and ready for like deep lovemaking. Like, we've got to be turned on emotionally. We've got to have like all the right buttons pressed, juices flowing, little things really mean things. And when it comes to our self-pleasure practice, we're not giving ourselves that same respect and that same time. So that's what I have to say about that.
That's so good. And I hope that anyone listening who got a little uncomfortable when Mel said self-pleasure, like lean into that, really lean into that, because I know for me that used to make me feel uncomfortable to hear that, and so that just goes to show how disconnected we are from our womb space. And like, as you said, this is the like most beautiful, most divine part of us that is, as you said, gives life. I mean, and to be disconnected from our most powerful center like that, So imagine, ladies, when you connect to that and when you allow yourself to experience pleasure, right? And not making yourself feel shameful or wrong or bad or dirty, right? Which can happen is because maybe that feels dirty to you because it was made dirty to you at some point in some experience in your life journey. So reestablishing that relationship in a healthy way and starting with the little things, like I like what you said, Mel, and I actually can relate to that practice. Traveling, I haven't been able to do it as much because sometimes I have a bathtub, sometimes I don't. But when I had my regular bathtub, I would do that regularly, and I would light candles and I would create a whole sensual, beautiful experience around it. And talk about, shifting. Remember, I was telling you before how I didn't know how to shift. These kinds of things, ladies, are what has you be able to shift, because having those divine, like beautiful, quiet, still connected moments with yourself that you get to create are what allows you to tap into that divine feminine nature within and connect. And so I remember when, like, for me personally, I had a lot of shame, and I'm just going to say this. I've actually never shared this before, so I love that we're talking about this, because this is like something new I haven't talked about. I had a lot of shame around masturbation, around self-pleasure, because of an experience that happened with me in my past when I was really young. And I was shamed. I was basically caught masturbating. And I was shamed I literally, guys, get this for a second, Mel, literally a family meeting was called. And when I say, and when I say family meeting, I mean not just my immediate family, my cousins, literally my aunts, like everyone at a table, because so I'm not even gonna go there. It was
Oh my
so you can imagine.
gosh.
Yeah, so you
Babe.
can imagine.
Oh, I just want to hug little Ashley so much. She wasn't doing anything wrong. She was just
I know.
exploring.
Exploring, right? And and I've done like a lot of work around that, because I remember every time that I would masturbate, I would feel so dirty afterwards, like just almost like I felt like I almost needed to either throw up or like spit or like just chug water, right? So that it really created just this unhealthy relationship. So I love the way that you're explaining it. And it's so important for women to understand that this is a beautiful, natural experience that we get to create for ourselves as women. And there's nothing bad, wrong, or dirty about it. And it's something that I've learned. And I'm really, especially over the last, I would say, year and a half to 2 years, I've been really focused on restoring and reactivating that part of me, because I shunned it for so long. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, there's so much shame, on individual levels. Like I mean, I do this work with clients all the time, and there are so many women that have had really similar experiences to you, Ash, where they've been shamed for something, they've been caught, and they've been made to feel like they're wrong or bad or dirty, or and obviously then you've got people that grew up in a really religious family where it's just like the worst thing you could possibly do. So and then there's also like a lot of obviously there's a lot of deep trauma there as well, that people need to be able to work through. But if this is really triggering and you feel like a million miles away from self-pleasure, then just the word pleasure, like what about just the word pleasure outside of self-pleasure? Like, do you allow yourself to experience pleasure in your life? Like, are you just going through your life trying to get the fastest results possible in the shortest amount of time? Or do you sometimes take the long road? Do you sometimes take the scenic route because it's more pleasurable? What are you doing on the weekends or in the evenings that is just fun or just pleasurable or just for you? How often do you get yourself a massage? How often do you, like, how fast do you eat? Are you just like wolfing your food down, or are you like taking your time? So there's all these different ways that we can actually just have more pleasure in our lives, and it comes from slowing down. But again, you look at our culture, we're taught go, 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 fast is best, succeed at any cost. And even the word pleasure has been really confusing. We've had really confusing messages around it because it's always paired with the word guilty pleasure. We hear it all the time. So we've all kind of gotten this memo of pleasure is something that we need to feel bad about afterwards, or if we have pleasure, we have to make up for it later with something that's not pleasurable. That's something that's, we've got to prove how hard we work to earn pleasure. And actually, pleasure is our birthright. And actually, what I have discovered as an entrepreneur is the more I lead with pleasure, the more money I make, the more my business grows, because I'm actually tapped into my feminine fire. And this is what I want all women to realize, is that you are more powerful when you are tapped into your feminine, not less. We have this concept of like, if I'm in my feminine, then it means I'm going to just like let go and surrender. That's not been my experience of it. You can do that, but you can also choose to channel pleasure and your feminine force, which is a force of nature, right? So in business, this might look like, instead of just cramming my diary with back-to-back client calls, I'm actually going to decide how many clients do I actually want to work with at any given point. Probably just 5. Okay, so from now on, I only do clients on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. From now on, Monday is going to be my creative day. Thursday is going to be my coach, like my mentor day. Friday is going to be my day off. I'm going to go to the beach, right? So we get to decide, and we get to grow and scale as leaders. And when we give ourselves that space for us to breathe and have that pleasure, the growth in that is phenomenal when we do that, because we're getting out of that hustle and out of that like entrepreneur mindset and into that leadership mindset.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's something that has been monumental for my energy, for my own alignment. I used to take meetings any day of the week. Like it was so, and now I have that where I do Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's my getting on calls days, podcasting, the things. And then I always leave my Fridays open. Very important for me to leave my Fridays open for tapping into my creativity and tapping into my flow, and like letting the magic creep in, because when we're always in the doing, we're not leaving room for that magic to come in. Like we as women we have the intuition of a woman is so powerful. If we're always in the do, go, 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 where is the room to even sit and listen to our intuition, to what is true? Like we're not creating that space if we're always in the doing.
100%. There's so much magic in the being, and it's in that beingness where the divine, where the ideas come, where the magic comes. And that's when you get the inspiration for the next project, or that's when you have a download of like, oh, this, and then that's where the magic comes.
Yes. Yeah. I have this process. I was just talking to my coach about this this morning. I have this process that I take myself through. It's a journaling process. And what it does is it really taps in. It's creating a moment with you, and you literally go in and you take yourself through this process of inquiry, and you're journaling it all out. That's a very feminine practice that I do when I'm feeling in a funk, when I'm feeling stuck, when I'm feeling it just whatever it is, like the icky feelings, right? When I'm feeling icky, I take myself through this process, and it allows me to get, because we all have the truth. We do. It's there. It's available to us. It's just we're not listening. We're not asking ourselves the questions. We're not tapping and tuning into our divine truth. And so that for me was, I remember when I did that in Nice, France. I was supposed to go out one night. And of course, I'm in Nice, France. I was only there for 2 nights. So I had this plan to go out and have this extravagant night. And I was like, I was feeling icky. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to honor. And that's an example right there, right? It's like when blessings are near, distractions appear, right? There's like always going to be something. There's all this FOMO and things going on all the time. I could have pushed myself and like, oh, I should go out and do that and do. I knew that I needed to be with myself. I knew I needed to not resist this feeling, that I needed to confront it and actually move through it. I spent 2 hours journaling on the balcony on the terrace. I turned on French music. I had a glass of wine. I lit a candle and I watched. I was literally journaling with the sunset going down. I'll never forget this moment. Literally the next week, I kid you not, the next week I generated $20,000 in revenue in 7 days. Like, and by the way, the whole reason I was feeling icky was because I was feeling super like business block, things like that. And it just was like, all I needed, that's all I needed was that, that 2 hours of connected moment on a Friday night, you know, to give to myself in that way. Right.
Yeah.
So much power in that.
Absolutely. And I really love that you shared that, because it's, you know, from sex to relationships to your body to business, it's all connected. Money, it's all, everything touches everything, right? And, you know, I've experienced really similar things. And, you know, from going from, oh, I'm going to launch this thing because this is what everyone is telling me I should do, to why this actually doesn't feel right in my body. If I launch this thing and if I try and sell this thing now, I'm going to feel like I'm pushing it, and it doesn't feel, I don't feel connected to, yes, I like when I'm in a launch, when I'm selling something, I really get behind it. Like I have this thing, it's going to change your life. I really fucking mean it.
You just want to shout it from the rooftops.
I really mean it. And so if I've got this kind of formula that says launch this thing at this time and I don't feel like it, I have learned from experience to not do it. And I am now more than happy to, you know, follow my own path and make up my own rules and not do the whole like cookie cutter of what all the business strategists are saying to do, because I've really recognized when I honor my body, when I honor myself, when I honor my creative time, because I am, me at my heart, I am more of a creator than I am an entrepreneur. I love turning things into beautiful, I like visions. I'm a visionary. I like vision. I make visions come to life, and through business, right? And services and coaching. But at heart, I'm a creator, right? So I need that creative space and that real sovereignty of what do I want to create and what do I want to put out into the world and what do I want to sell and when. So I'm not working off this calendar of like, I'm going to do back to back, this is the launch, then I'm going to do this launch, then I'm going to do this launch. Like, no, I'm going to launch when I want to. What I want to do, what I want to talk about is going to be down to me, and it's going to be based on when my body feels, yes, now we can get behind this. Now we feel like this is the time.
I love that. And it's funny because as I'm hearing you say that, it's for anyone who is like feeling that pressure and is in that doing and gets lost in that, as we've been talking about, there's also the other person who is actually a lot what I used to be. And I'm guessing some of the listeners have got to be this because like attracts like, is an analyzer. So I would be an over analysis, right? Which, by the way, that's coming from a lot of the times all the shoulds that that's been piled on you. So then you're analyzing and not tapping and tuning into your truth because you're thinking of what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what you should do. But you know, there's a difference there, and I hope you guys, you know, listening can see that difference of, it's not like let me wait till I'm ready, and like ready is a lie. In other words, like we're just delaying time and we're over analyzing and, you know, just waiting and waiting for the right moment. You know what I'm saying? So that could be, that could go both ways, right? It's more of like, hey, I'm feeling called to do this, so I'm going to do it. And I'm going to trust. And that's part of, by the way, that's really what surrender is. It's trusting, and not being super rigidly attached to an agenda. And it's also that I'm, you know, if I'm feeling like I'm being pressured, if I'm feeling like if I'm feeling like I'm shoulding and all this stuff and it doesn't feel right, then just say no and like wait until it does feel right. So it's really learning. And again, this is like part of self-mastery. This is part of self-mastery, is like, and guess what? You know which is which. Only you do. Mel and I can't tell you, like, you know which one you're in. And so that's why connecting, creating those moments to connect with yourself so that you can identify what's true, what's not true, what's working and what's not working for you.
Completely. And it's just that masculine feminine conversation again, right? It's like we need both. We need the structures and we need the space to flow. So
Yes.
you know, for me, I cannot do project management softwares. It's too much structure. Just cannot do it. What I do like is Slack, and I like spreadsheets. So if we have like a big project going on, we'll have a spreadsheet. However, we'll create a big plan on the spreadsheet of like, this is what we need doing by this date. The whole team is, you know, on this spreadsheet. This is the plan, right? But then I like to just say, okay, surrender. Like, here's the spreadsheet. We've got the structure, and I'm not going to look at it every freaking day. Like, I'm going to go, I'm going to play. There's so much room here for, you know, what's the word? Improvisation. And it doesn't matter if we don't do things exactly as it is, but it's good to have the structure there. So we're not just completely flailing in the wind, but we need the masculine is like the container, and then the feminine is like the flowy water in the container, right? Just the water on its own is not held, but just the container on its own, there's no flow, there's no magic, there's no life. Right. So we need both.
I love that. It's so true. That's actually, I just talked about this today with one of my clients, is that's how I build my programs now, because I have, of course, like a general outline and of course the things that I am committed to creating in the group. However, I am committed to also being flexible and listening to what the women need who enter the group, and adjusting and molding to that, because guess what? That's going to deliver way more value. It's going to be way more relevant. And that's the feminine flow piece though, because if I were to say, okay, I'm not going to launch this program until I have every single day of every day, everything that's going to happen every week, who's going to come in, what's going to be taught, what the modules are going to be, right? Like that is actually the like over analysis, because, and that's not leaving room for the magic, because what I've learned that by leaving it open and flexible and allowing intuitive flow and guidance to come through, and like really seeing who's entering the container and creating a customized, beautiful experience based around them, that has been my most powerful experiences for my clients, hands down.
Yes. Amen. Yeah. I completely agree. And for me, this is why I still love my membership that I've created, the Goddess Collective, which I'm now coming into my 3rd year with it, and I'm still so freaking in love with it. I'm so excited to create content in there, because it's constantly evolving month to month, and I'm listening to my community, and I'm doing things that, I want to explore this topic. They want me to explore this topic. What can we get? Like, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And it's like this ever evolving work of art, rather than this is what you get. It's just this, and then it's this, and then that's it. Yeah. You know, it's like, no, join and let's see where we go. Like, it's going to be this dance of constant evolution, which is how we are as people, especially in this industry. We're always growing and evolving. So it makes beautiful sense for us to have programs that are a reflection of that.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. So Mel, I have this question that I want to ask you, and I'm really curious to know what you're going to say to this. This is and we're kind of, we're shifting. Talk about shifting. We're shifting a little bit here.
Okay.
So what would you say is a part about you that you used to dim or hide that you have since reactivated and reignited throughout this transformational journey you've been on of now becoming this female on fire that you are today?
Honestly, I feel like the whole reason that I have this business and this lifestyle around it is because I decided to stop dimming my light. So it's hard for me to pick one thing, because I really just want to say, like, me shining my light is what I would dim. So just me being all of me, because I thought I was too much, and I was always, sorry, I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent here. Were you looking for a one-word answer?
No, go ahead.
Okay. For me, like, I always had I had this thing where girls would say to me at school that I was too confident, that I was too full of myself, that I loved myself too much. And so that was when I started really dimming my light. That was when I started stopped eating and really started kind of getting into this anorexia and bulimia. And that was like my real kind of very dark years. But that really for me stemmed from I don't want to be too confident or too much. I should shrink myself down. So really me actually claiming self-love again was huge for me, because I was always taught you don't want to be the girl that loves herself, because other girls hate that about you. So definitely don't be too confident. Definitely don't love yourself. In fact, it's actually, you're going to have more friends if you decide to hate yourself. So yeah, for me, just stepping into like owning my power and really like owning who I am in the world, and like being able to be like, yeah, I am actually pretty great. You know, I do love myself. Claiming that was really huge for me, because it created this whole thing of like, oh no, you can't say that. What are people going to think of you? They're going to think that you're so up yourself and so like full of yourself and so narcissistic. And so that's been really huge for me to really claim self-love again.
I love that. I can totally relate. I can totally relate to so much of what you shared. And what's really cool about that is, guess what? There's going to be some people who do judge you that way, and some people who have, right? And that's the crazy thing, is we create these realities for ourselves, like when we're actually sticking to a box like that. Like, I'm sure that was your experience. I would guess that your experience was that the minute you started to kind of shine, you would get like some kind of resistance from one of your girlfriends, right? Because of that belief of like, that belief that's circulating your mind of, if I love myself, then they won't like me. So then you attract the people who don't love themselves and who won't like you for loving yourself, right? So it's like, it's this thing, because at the end of the day, there's all the diversity in this planet is it's profound. So there are so many different types of people with so many different types of beliefs and experiences and all the things. So we're not meant to please everyone. Right. And so then what I'm sure you found is, once you really started to like shine your light, as you so beautifully have, and how I've seen you, is then you attracted women and people who love that about you, who are inspired by that about you. And all of a sudden your tribe just freaking elevates because you showed up.
Amen. 100%. 100%. And it's so good to like, sorry, I was just going to say, like, it's so good to hear other people say that, you know, you standing in your light gives me permission to shine mine.
Yes, 100%. Because, and like, I remember you and I don't know if you remember, we went to coffee in London. I think it was London.
Yeah.
And you were telling me about like how some experiences where women have been like the jealousy thing comes up, right? Or it's like a comparison thing happens. And that, like, the thing to realize is about that is, and I want for anyone listening who maybe is starting to experience that, maybe you're starting to tap into your light, maybe you're starting to show up, and you're experiencing women not liking that about you and pushing back and maybe getting jealous and envious of you. I'll speak to this from my perspective, and I would love to hear what you want to say to women who are experiencing this. For me, I'll say that when women are experiencing jealousy about you and comparing themselves to you in that way, and like making you feel bad for what you're achieving and what you're showing up as, it's their own insecurities being projected onto you, because suddenly you're making them feel, in their eyes, less, right? So they're actually comparing themselves to you in an effort to keep themselves feeling good. In other words, hurt people is the best way to put it. And so that's what I have to say about that. I would love to hear your input on when you experience this kind of pushback with women.
Yeah, I mean, just to be totally honest, it's something that I still experience. Like, it's something that I've experienced in friendships throughout my life, of, you know, women that I deeply love and have close to me, and then they start comparing themselves, or they start competing with me, and then I feel them want to withdraw, and I then, you know, something that I've been able to shift, but what I used to do was then I make myself small to try and make things better and to try and restore the friendship. Kind of, it would be like, oh, I take a big step in my career. Like, let's say I get a book deal, and then I notice that this friend is not able to celebrate with me for her own reasons, right? It's hard for her to, right? So this is the kind of stuff that I've experienced a lot of. So then I would like play it down. Oh, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, it wasn't really, you know, whatever, like it's going to be, oh my God, it's going to be such a lot of work, like whatever, like really like just playing things down like that to try and restore the friendship and the connection. So I've stopped doing that now. I've stopped kind of like bringing myself down, and I notice when I do it, I make myself it's like I take my power and like kind of squash it almost to make it more palatable. And I've been really working on not doing that and actually just letting that person have their own process and their own experience, and not letting it change who I'm being in the world, because I know that I've just really kind of accepted this is my path, this is my purpose. I am here to shine. You know, I have created an amazing business. I'm going to keep growing. I'm going to keep shining. I'm not going to change my path anytime soon. This is just my path, right? This is just who I am here to be in this lifetime, right? So I'm better get on board with that, right? So I've just kind of stopped trying to fix other people's stuff. And stop trying to like make myself small to restore the connection, and just realize, okay, it's actually not my work to do. I'm going to let them have their process and let them know I'm here for you. I love you. I want us to connect. I'm here when you're ready.
And know this, you're actually not fixing anything. You're actually not supporting. And that's a big misconception is we are not supporting the other person. We're actually enabling them to continue down that path, which doesn't feel good for them either. So just know that, ladies, is like, that's not actually doing what you think it might be doing. It may be saving that little moment, but over the grand scheme of things, it's not supporting, definitely not supporting you, because that's diluting your power and diluting your light. And it's definitely not supporting them, because that's their own, like, you're basically enabling them to not look at it, to not do the work, right? So I think that's a really important distinction to make. Well, I love that, Mel. And I just like, I love, even now I was thinking about it, like, you're probably making so many women feel, well, first off, you're making so many women inspired, but then also so many women uncomfortable, because, by the way, follow Mel, you guys, if you don't already. I'll put her stuff in the show notes for you, as I always do. I'll put her stuff in there. Look at what she's been posting. Like, and I love her boyfriend, Rick, is an amazing photographer, and he takes these freaking sensual, sexual, like tasteful shots of her, right? Like, just really owning her the curves of her body, and like the way her body like naturally contours and moves. And it's just so elegant and tasteful and beautiful. And I'm sure some women have looked at that and been like, what the hell, right? And made some whatever judgments about it, right? But then you've had this other side, and this is what you have to remember. It's like, this is what being magnetic means, right? It's like, yeah, some people it will repel because they have work to do around that. They're not ready for that yet. And then other people, it's going to inspire them into their next level of, oh my gosh, how can I tap into that too? Because I love that you've been and talk about turn on, if we can just like bring it back. Okay, just wondering, how turned on are you when you're doing those photo shoots? Just please.
Oh my God. That's like our
right?
Our number one. Oh yes, that does it. Oh yeah.
It's so sexy. Like ladies, even if it's just you with you, I'm telling you, I've done this where I've like just taken photos of myself. Okay. Literally. And it's like just for myself, because it's something about that, right? It's a turn. Talk about turn-ons. Put on some outfit you feel sexy in. I challenge listeners right now to do this actually tonight. Just put on something sexy and just take a few shots of yourself posing and watch what happens. Watch what happens to your womb space.
Oh yeah.
Seriously.
Amen, sister. Amen.
Yeah.
I love that you said that. Yes.
Yeah, because there's all these little things, and like, truthfully, if we're talking about body insecurity and those things, which I know you help you for a long time. That was your journey, supporting women with body image issues and all of that. It's like, hey, if you're worried, quote unquote, about what let's say your man or a guy you like is going to think about your body when you wear that, let's just say, guess what? I actually just posted about this today. Guess what the number one most sexy, most attractive trait to a man is? You probably already know.
Is it confidence?
Yep. Confidence. It polled thousands. I think it was like 4,000 men. Alison Armstrong did a study on this.
Oh yeah.
All of them. It wasn't your body. It wasn't your boobs. It wasn't your butt. It wasn't your hair. It wasn't your eyes. It wasn't your face. It literally wasn't any of that. The number one thing, effing how you carry yourself. Like that, like it's your confidence. It's how you carry yourself. So imagine when you're able to turn yourself on, when you're able to feel sexy in the bath, touch, like literally touch every part of your body, like connect, like feel your smooth skin. When you feel sexy, you will be sexy.
Yeah,
literally,
that's it. People
right?
need to realize that sexy is not a look, it's a feeling. Yeah,
Yes.
It's a feeling that we can generate. And if you take anything from this podcast, guys, like let it be that you are the source of your own power. You get to source that feeling of turn on, that feeling of pleasure, that feeling of sensuality from within, that feeling of self-love from within. So it's not something that you just go find out there, right? It's all coming from you and your relationships, your business, your bank account, like all of those things, your friendships, that everything moves around you when you start sourcing your own power from within.
Yes, you are source, ladies. Oh, what a beautiful way to end the podcast. Thank you for that, Mel. I love how we just full circled that too. So beautiful. Well, Mel, I am so lit up about this episode. I just knew that we would jam out about some real stuff and just have raw girl talk together. And I hope you ladies felt that, who are listening right now, and feel like a new sense of connection to yourself through this episode, through that, the connection to your divine feminine parts of you that maybe you have been not willing to look at or connect with. And so I hope that you feel inspired to go do something for yourself, create that time and space to connect and to turn yourself on and have a bath, take some pictures, all the things. So Mel, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to put all the ways, because I already know, I'll put your website, I'll put your Instagram, I'll put your podcast as well, because I know she has Love, Sex, and Magic, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yes. I'll put that in there. Is there anything else that you would like me to share for the listeners?
Oh, I tell you what I am doing. If anyone's interested, I always do a big Advent challenge, which is like a self-love Advent challenge around this time of year. So I'm not sure when this episode is coming out, Ashley. But we have like an Advent calendar running throughout all of December, which is like a huge, like almost like a Christmas infused self-love 25-day retreat, and it's totally free. So if you want to get involved with that, come and find me over on Instagram and get signed up. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay, cool. And you'll definitely be announcing it on your Instagram. So I'll just be sure that that's in there, so they'll be able to follow you and see when all of that is dropping. So fun. All right. Well, thank you so much, sister. I love you. And until next time, guys, I'll see you on the next episode.
Okay, let me do you. This is like my American, right? Hey, girlfriend, what's up? Shall we do this podcast? Let's do it. Let's totally do it.
Oh my God. So basically, we're all Valley girls.
Yes, exactly.
We're all Valley girls. Yeah. And I don't even know what I am. Maybe I'm like
Cockney,
or like
Cockney.
Cockney.
Yeah, Cockney
like,
is like the old like. Yeah. That's Cockney.